Hi, this is the video for Math 980 lecture 3.5, and in this section we are at the beginning we're just completing these tables in order to graph a line. In the next section it's really all about graphing the lines. So these two problems are kind of a precursor. So let's look at problem number 1. Mine shows these x values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it shows 3 of the y values, and it wants me to continue the pattern. So you can do that in several ways. You can look at the numbers and the y value, and if you quickly recognize that they're decreasing by 3, then you are just going to continue decreasing by 3. So another way of figuring that out, if you didn't, just see it obviously, is just to go 8 minus 5 and realize that, oh, that's 3, and then 5 minus 2 is 3. So then, so then each time you're just moving down by 3. So 2 minus 3 is negative 1, and then negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, and then negative 7. So those would be the answers for the boxes. And then they want you to graph that. So this is a line, and you may not at this point recognize that it is a line, but at some point it says use the graphing tool to graph the line using 2 points. So you click on the graphing tool picture on MyMathLab and you select the picture of the line. And when you're graphing a line, you only need to graph 2 points of the line. So each of these groups, x and y, is a point. So I could write it as 0, 8. I could write it as the ordered pair instead of leaving it in this chart. So you could pick any of these points. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points to choose from. And I would pick whatever looks easiest to you. So if I graph the point 0, 8, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, be right there. And then let's say I choose 1, 5. So that would be 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you plot the 2 points and then hit answer or save or whatever, and then it will draw the line between the 2 points that you plotted. Okay, notice I could have done 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but I didn't have to because I'd already done those 2 points, but I could have done these 2 points or these 2 points or whatever. You need 2 points and that's all. Okay, so let's look at question number 2, which is done the same way. It's just more difficult because they have fractions, and on top of that, they're negative fractions. So I'm looking at this. Again, I have x is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My y's are a little bit trickier. I have negative 7 fourths, negative 15 fourths, negative 23 fourths. Well, if my denominator is the same each time, then the only thing changing is my numerator. So how do I get from negative 17 to negative 15? Well, negative 7 and negative 15. So negative 7, I could do it just like I did here, minus negative 15 makes this a plus 15, which gives me 8, right? So each time I'm subtracting 8 in order to get to the next number. Negative 7 minus 8 is negative 15. Minus 8 is negative 23. Minus 8 is negative 31, and these are all going to be over 4. Minus 8 is negative 39 over 4. Minus 8 is negative 47 over 4. And then we have to graph it, and this part is a little bit more difficult. But my recommendation is, so pick your 2 points. I would probably just pick the first 2. So we're going to do 0, negative 7 fourths, and then 1, negative 15 fourths. But what is negative 7 fourths as a decimal? Well, I can just do 7 divided by 4, and that gives me 1.75. So it turns out negative 7 fourths equals negative 1.75. Negative 15 fourths equals negative 3.75, which you could do on your calculator, 15 divided by 4. And I think that it's easier to graph if you have it converted to a decimal because we can conceptualize these quantities better than we can conceptualize the fraction quantities. So how would I graph that? I would do, my first point is 0, negative 1.75. So 0, negative, if this is 1, then 0.75 is 3/4 of the way. So there it would be. And then here I have 1, negative 3.75. 1, 2, 3.75. So there we go. One of the nice things on your graphing tool on MyMathLab is as you're moving your cursor around the graph, there is a little spot down below that changes the value of the point as you're moving. So when you feel like you're on the right point, you can look down and it should say 1, comma, negative 3.75, or whatever the point is that you're looking for. And in the next lecture video, I'll actually talk about that a little bit more. Like I said, for this section, you only have to graph twice. Okay, so let's move on to question number 3. In question 3, it's a story problem that says the cost equation for a company to install X square feet of brick pathway is C equals 198 plus 14X. So they give me this cost function, and then they give me another cost function, which is C equals 23X. They said, what is the area of the path that could be built by either company for the same cost, and how much would it cost? So here's the thing. If they're asking a question about wanting these to be the same, then what you do is you just set them equal to each other. So this guy would be equal to this guy. So 198 plus 14X equals 23X. And then you would solve that equation. So if I subtract 14X from both sides, I get 198 equals 9X. And then if I divide by 9, I get X equals 22. Now, we have to then think about what X represents. X represents the square feet of the brick pathway. So I could do 22 square feet, and that is the answer for the first part of the question. But then they want me to go back and tell them how much it would cost. So if I plug the number 22 into either equation, because they should be equal, because I set them equal, then I'll get the answer for what the cost is. This looks easier to do, so I'm just going to calculate that, 23 times 22, and my cost would end up being $506. So I first solve for X, which gives me the area in square feet, then I plug that value back into X for either equation, and I should get the same answer regardless of which equation I used. All right, let's look at question number 4. And I just want to point out for 4, you're going to do it the same way, but what's going to happen is that they won't ever be able to be equal, and I'll show you why. So it says a farmer sells his corn for $320 a metric ton with a small surcharge of $25. So every ton is $320, so that would be $320 times every ton, and then plus a surcharge of $25. So that is his cost, or, well, that's what he's selling it for. Okay, so then his neighbor sells her corn crop for $320 per metric ton, so that's also 320x, but she gives a $10 rebate, so that's minus $10 equals C. So those are the two cost functions. So I just wanted to help you develop those cost functions. And then it says, write the cost model functions for both farmers and find the amount of corn that makes the cost equal. So they're asking for the question of equality. So we're going to go 320x plus 25 equals 320x minus 10. So some of you will be able to notice at this point, I can't take a number times it by 320 and then add 25 on this side and subtract 10 on this side and have these be equal. Okay, but it may not be obvious, so what would we do? Let's move the x over to this side by subtracting 320x, but notice what happens is they disappear on both sides. So I get 25 equals negative 10, which is never true. So in this case, you would say these will never be equal. All right, and then finally question number 5, I just want to do the setup for you. I'm not going to finish the problem. But it says a rental company gives 2 options for the daily cost of a car. One option is to pay $30 a day, so that's $30 for every day, which is X, and they give you this function, C equals 30X, where X is the number of days the car is rented. The second option is to pay $8 a day plus an initial fee of $90, and the cost equation is 8X plus 90. What is the pricing method with the initial fee a better value? So this is the one that has the initial fee. So if this is a better value, it means it's cheaper, right? So I would set it up as an inequality. So 8X plus 90 is less than 30X. You can solve this just like you would an equation. Okay, so you could subtract your 8X and then divide by that answer, and you should get your answer. Or you can kind of do a guess and check, which in some ways I think helps develop the concept of what's going on and get your brain really thinking about the question. So in other words, you think to yourself, all right, if I only rent the car for 1 day, then this 30 times 1 is going to be $30. But this is going to be 8 plus 90 is going to be 98. So it's cheaper for 1 day, right, to rent without that initial fee. What would 2 days be? So 2 days would make this $60 to rent this car. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 90 is 106. So it's still cheaper for 2 days to go with this method, right? How about 3 days? I have 90, and I have 24 plus 90 is 114. Still cheaper to go that way. So what they're asking is, how many days would you need to rent the car in order for this side to be cheaper? So 4 would be what? 120. 4 here would be 32 plus 90 is 122. We're almost there, right? And you could probably guess it. So for me, 5 days at 150 would make this side cheaper. Is that right? I think that's right. And you can do that by solving this inequality. We call it an inequality because there's not an equal sign. Okay, so give that a try and let me know if you have any questions.